Good morning, you guys. Good morning, and welcome to the Good News Sunday Show. My name is Sonia McCullough Lockridge, and I am your host. And today we are delving into our study of the importance of prayer. And actually, it's the importance of prayer study. Today we are digging into that. And we are using this resource by T.W. Hunt we're using this book as our resource. And on the first cup, we are finishing up Rediscover Church. So I'm very, very excited about this. And today, incidentally, since we just talked about Rediscover, or like I like to say, Reoccupy Church, today we are going to jump right into our lesson in regards to the church and prayer. Now, I have some notes over here, so you may see me from time to time referring to my notes. And hopefully, we will try to keep this lesson, whatever you want to call it, brief. But we are beginning our study of prayer, and so we want to begin that study with Jesus and what he said about prayer, hopefully prayerfully. Anyway, we're starting today with the church and prayer and T.W. Hunt. Prayer is the vehicle of supernatural force the early church used for rapid expansion. Prayer is the vehicle of supernatural force the early church used for rapid expansion. Prayer. The recorded prayers in the book of Acts and the epistles provide evidence of the power of prayer. They provide much and great evidence of the power of prayer. The early church used the supernatural power to spread the good news in the exact pattern commissioned by the one and only Jesus. The early church used the supernatural power to spread the good news in the exact pattern commissioned by the one and only Jesus. Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria. And that reference is from Acts 1:8. So we're using our prayer Bible published by Crossway this season for our resource. Of course, we're also using the good old KJV. We probably will likely never leave the KJV. Anyway, I love the KJV as well. So we're going to look at Acts 1:8. And Acts 1:8 reads, actually, I'm going to start in verse 6. So when they had come together, they asked him, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? He said to them, it is not for you to know times or seasons that the Father has fixed by his own authority, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth. You will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth. And when he had said these things, as they were looking on, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him out of their sight. Jesus' last words, you will be my witnesses. And it's going to start in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the end of the earth. These are the words of Jesus prior to his ascension. This is his last and his greatest command, that you will be my witnesses. There's not a whole lot of room for choice in there. You will be my witnesses. He didn't say you might be my witnesses. He didn't say you're going to be my witness if you want to, but you will be my witness. So that's Acts 1:8. So let's move a little bit further. Paul was one of the primary drivers, but thousands of believers scattered by persecution were used as well. Paul was one of the primary drivers of prayer, of the power of prayer, but thousands of other believers by persecution used them as well. Use what? Use what? The power of prayer, the vehicle of prayer. T.W. Hunt writes, these drivers became fire bands to ignite the fire of divine heat all over the Mediterranean. Many of these fire bands had learned the divine method in Jerusalem, where prayer saturated the work of that very first church. Once again, many of these fire bands had learned the divine method in Jerusalem, where prayer saturated the work of that very first church. Fire bands. I love that word. I love that word. Fire bands. Prayer was an extremely important part of the life of the earliest church. The birth of the church occurred in an atmosphere of prayer and praise. After the ascension of Christ, the disciples returned to Jerusalem with great joy and were continually in the temple praising God. So they went back to Jerusalem. They returned to Jerusalem with great joy, and they continued in the temple praising God. So what's exciting about this fire band, this privilege to pray, is that as believers of the one and only Jesus, we still have that very same power today. We have been granted, we have been gifted this very same power today. Now let's look at Luke 24:52 through 53. Luke 24:52 through 53. And we're just going to start in 50. And he led them out as far as Bethany, and lifting up his hands, he blessed them. He parted from them and was carried up into heaven. And they worshiped him and returned to Jerusalem with great joy, and were continually in the temple blessing God. They prayed in the temple. They prayed in the temple, y'all. They didn't stop. They did not stop. They prayed in the temple continually. So this is where we will end our first lesson of the importance of prayer. But we are not going to end our lesson without an assignment. And our assignment is, let me just find it. Our assignment from W.T. Hunt is, where did it go? Oh no, I lost it. We're going to pray for the church. We're going to pray for the capital C church. Our personal learning activity for this week is to pray for the church. We're going to make a prayer list for the needs of your church. And we're going to commit ourselves to pray daily for the needs and persons listed below. Church leaders, church programs, and world missions. Church leaders, church programs, and world missions. How are you going to pray for your church, the local church, today? We're going to pray for the church leaders, church programs, and world missions. And we probably, since COVID, need to add to that list the church building themselves, because many of them at this point in time may or may not be in a state of repair, of need of repair. So we're going to add a fourth one to that, and we're going to pray for the actual physical structure of churches themselves. So that is our assignment, and we've had our lesson 1 of who knows how many for the balance of the calendar year. After going through this book and doing some studying, there may come a time and a point in which we may have to have more study videos, because this little book, we could actually study this one book the entirety of the year. It is so chock full of practical, important information in regards to prayer, the importance of prayer. This is Sonia McCullough Lockridge signing out for the Good News Sunday Show, and I hope and pray that you would have a blessed day in the Lord. Thank you.